Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to a brand new video on the channel. Inside of today's video, we've got a very exciting one. So for the first time in Brawl Stars history, pretty much, we've got the best rewards you can possibly get. So make sure you subscribe, because we'll be going through day 1, day 2 and day 3 for all of these predictions, giving you guys the best tips. You won't find better advice anywhere else on YouTube, because I'm literally Mr. Brawl Esports. I eat, sleep and breathe Brawl Stars. And of course, I'm just so in tune with a competitive meta, so hopefully I can give you guys the best tips and the best predictions. But it's going to be a hard one, I'll just point that out straight away. But the reason why it's important for you casual players as well, even if you don't really enjoy Brawl Esports, it's the chance to get a free Hypercharge at the end. So make sure to stick towards the end and watch every single video, because it's very important. Because you can see here, each day a new reward will unlock. So after day 1, you can only go up to 1,000 points. Day 2, I think you can only go up to 2,000. So you have to basically do predictions every single day and watch the stream every single day. So very, very important, just to show things off. You also get like 15, 14 star drops, free exclusive pins as well. And you get a bunch of bling, coins, all of that good stuff. There's just so much in this reward track. I think it's by far the best they've ever done. You know, free skin is pretty cool, but normally I like progression, especially on my free-to-play account. I want a Hypercharge, especially with how strong they are currently in the meta. So what we'll be doing in today's video, giving you guys the best tips in terms of ways, of course, with the predictions. I'll be going through every single game for day 1, and I'll be giving you guys some other tips as well, because it's actually a lot of progression in terms of not just getting your predictions right, but just watching the stream and earning rewards that way. So you can see by the schedule here, 6 games in the first day. Let's run through some tips. Okay, so jumping into probably the most important tip that I have to share throughout every single game that you watch. You can see here that last year, I think the Spanish content creator, I couldn't find many screenshots, but essentially what happens after every single game, literally as the game ends, there's an MVP vote. And this is the best way and the most solid way to actually win points, because you don't even need to select the right MVP. You can just select any of them and you gain 100. But I will say that don't just select any of them. I would recommend definitely just watching at least a final set to see who is the most deserving of that MVP reward, because there's nothing worse as a pro player thinking you've had the game of your life and then some random who didn't even play well got MVP, and especially on the winning team, MVP pretty much every single time. So we get 100 just like that, and I believe there's 19 games going on throughout day 1, 2 and 3. So if you just at the end of every single game simply select an MVP, you're getting 1,900 points of the 3,000 that you need. So that's already a fantastic start. And yeah, I just wanted to kind of point this through, because it's gone through in every single monthly final that goes on. So that's just a normal thing going on. So the next best way through earning points in a confirmed matter is through the questions that you've received throughout the game. So normally in a series, if you guys don't know, every single game right now is a best of 5. So typically throughout a best of 5, I think 2, 3, maybe 4 questions are asked throughout the series. These could be literally the most random questions. So these questions could literally be about Brawl Esports history. You know, what team won the last World Finals? So that would be Zeta 0. How many times has Tensai, for example, won the World Finals? That would be 2. There's like some random Brawl Esports general knowledge questions, which if you're not very familiar with Brawl Esports, you can easily just check Liquipedia on the Brawl Stars section. I'll put it in the description anyways if you guys aren't aware, but that's a fantastic website in terms of resources with Brawl Esports. There will definitely be a lot of general questions in terms of Brawl Esports. So for me, I would familiarize yourself with it, because it's definitely very important. But these questions could quite easily just be general Brawl Stars questions as well. I think the last time I kind of watched this, the Brawl event, there was like a lot of questions to do with what brawler was in this season of Brawl Stars, for example, or in a certain season, like what brawler was the chromatic brawler in season 18. You know, there's going to be a lot of just general Brawl Stars questions, which you guys would definitely know the answer to. So make sure to just watch on the eventbrawlstars.com website all the time, because these questions could appear literally anywhere. Okay guys, so now we're going to be jumping into our day 1 predictions. So of course, predictions are very important, because you'll be getting 100 points per team you predict right. And like I said, in LCQ last time, I was pretty confident with my predictions, but I got a lot of them wrong, like a lot. So there was a lot of upsets, and I think in this Brawl Stars World Finals, just like to point out that it's the most open it's ever been, in my opinion. I feel like not literally every team can win. There definitely can be some upsets, but there's a large pool of teams now that can win. Essentially, like last World Finals, I only thought that Zeta 1 or 0 could win. Now I feel like 4, 5, 6 teams could maybe win the World Finals. But now we're jumping into Group A. So I think this is definitely your best chance of gaining some points. I could be very wrong here. Again, there can definitely be some upsets, but on paper, just by pure statistics, and if you was to group it by percentages, I think Luminosity should be able to win both of their games, probably by like a 70% to 30% at least. But we're talking through the odds and all of that stuff. So we're going to be going through Luminosity versus Revenant as the first game. So this one's going to be very interesting. So we'll walk through both teams very quickly. So Luminosity, they're the first seed in NA. Their team consists of Patchy, Chino, and Charles. So 3 amazing players. They've been around the scene for a very long time. And they got the first seed in NA West ahead of STMN. So why is that very important? Because STMN are one of the best teams in the world at the moment. So if they finished ahead of STMN, you know, they have huge potential, especially on a LAN setting. But you've got to say that this is their first, I think, international LAN experience. Definitely is for the World Finals. So whether the occasion could get to them, I don't know. I don't think LAN experience is as important as most people make out. I think, you know, maybe like the first game, the first few games, you might be very nervous, but you just seem to get into the flow of things anyways. And I think that they have a very good chance of winning this game. So they won 4 out of 6 monthly finals. They didn't qualify for the recent NA ESL Snapdragon Pro Series, which just goes to show like the best 4 teams in NA qualified for that, and they didn't. So for me, that might be a question mark in terms of their current form. And they also have the second worst scrim rate, and the other one that was worse was BC, who are literally in their group. They're a Chinese team, so that is pretty bad in terms of that. And also, this is the, as I mentioned, the first ever LAN event, so that's definitely one thing to bear in mind. But they are by far in the easiest group. By far, literally, this is the one that I feel very confident with, because they're the top seed from NA and they're up against 2 of the weaker regions. Again, you can't really underestimate them all of the time, because Revenant are very good on LAN, but you know, on paper, NA is such a strong region. In terms of their scrim win rate, they got 38% win rate, and they scrimmed around 300 sets as I'm recording, which is actually about half of all of the other EU teams that have been preparing for weeks. So I think their preparation might be a little weak. But then we move on to Revenant. So Revenant are a very strong team. We've seen in LCQ that surprised a lot of people, but we'll say that their run were probably a little bit easier than usual. So they're the first team in India. They managed to win 4 out of 6 monthly finals, and they also won their LCQ group. However, it was a very, very weak group outside of maybe Humble. You know, they're kind of expected in some ways to qualify from that group. I know some people still wrote them off. So for them to just win their group was still a pretty big statement, in the sense that people were just underestimating them. They also beat Reconic South America, who beat a lot of people in their group. So just in turn, you know, Reconic beat Chazmac and Flash, 2 really strong teams. So if Revenant beat them, it just goes to show that they're a very strong team. But I will say their world's preparation was very scuffed, in the fact that I think one of their teammates, Sergeant, is literally arriving in Sweden Thursday. So that just goes to show the preparation is very bad, because that's 1 day's preparation. Whether you compare that to other teams like Nouns, for example, who are from Brazil, they flew in like 2 months in advance. They've been scrimming against EMEA this whole time. So I feel like their preparation is very, very sketchy and could definitely hurt them. I would have liked them to maybe come like a week earlier, so they can get some good practice against some of the best teams. And for me, they don't really have any scrim data, because they've literally only been scrimming against their own region. So that's another big thing you've got to talk about. And they also finished bottom of the group in ESL Masters. Even though it was with some different teammates, it's still one thing to definitely point out. And then the final team to introduce is BC. So BC are from China. So this one's a little bit of a weird one, because China, this is the first time I think they've actually been represented at a world stage. Literally all people at LAN, which is really nice to see. But China have been disrespected, but maybe for the right reasons, because they're not the strongest region. You know, they've literally not been able to put a fight in LAN whatsoever. So maybe they could cause an upset, maybe against Revenant, but definitely not against Luminosity. So for me, it will be very hard for them to qualify from this group. but they looked surprisingly good when I casted them at their Chinese event, which they easily won that land setting. So they've got some experience on land a little bit, but that was against their fellow counterparts. Their scrim win rates don't look good whatsoever. 30% win rate, which for me is just terrible against tier S teams, but they've actually been scrimming against more like tier A, B teams, maybe to build up some confidence, but for me, tier S teams, 30% is just absolutely terrible. But I definitely was a little bit surprised when I watched their scrims. So that's a lot of talking. Right, now let's talk about my actual predictions for this group. So the first game is going to be Luminosity versus Revenant. First game in Group A is going to be Luminosity Gaming versus Revenant Esports. For me, if I was to look at percentages, I would say that the likelihood of Luminosity winning should be around 65%, 70%. I know a lot of you guys straight away in the comments are going to say that I'm definitely underrating Revenant. But if I was underrating Revenant, it would be like 20% Revenant, because Luminosity are from NA. There's such a big region, especially finishing ahead of STMN. I just can't ignore that. I know Revenant got some really good results in LCQ, but I just don't fancy their preparation at the moment. I just feel like LG have prepared better. They're just better players overall. They should be able to take this one. I've been watching players like Patchy, Chino, and Charles for years. I feel like they definitely have the X factor to win this one. The next game, I think it's very, very simple. Luminosity Gaming versus BC Gaming. So this should be the biggest banker out of all of them. Luminosity Gaming, I would favor these like 85%, 90%, literally. That's how heavy the odds are here. I would heavily bet on Luminosity Gaming to win this one. I think it's just a given. You know, it's NA versus China. It's a pretty self-explanatory run. I mean, BC might be able to win a set, but getting 3 sets against Luminosity Gaming, I don't think you're going to be able to do that. And then the final one is going to be BC Gaming versus Revenant Esports. So I think this is going to be the decider in terms of who goes home on day one and who actually goes through. I think people might be a little bit surprised by BC Gaming. I think they've had some good preparation. They flew in quite early in comparison to Revenant. They also have, I don't know, been watching some scrims and they look okay. They might have a good grasp of the meta as well. But I think we'll quite clearly see in the first 2 games who is actually the favorite to win this one. So I'm a little bit apprehensive about it. For me, I would go for Revenant. My heart says Revenant and my head as well. I think Revenant have like a 65% chance, 70% chance of winning that one. I mean, again, I could be very underrating BC Gaming, but I just don't see it going any other way. So now we're moving on to Group B, and that's going to be the last group of day number 1. So as I said, make sure to go over to my next video for day 2 predictions. But this is an insane group. I honestly could not call this one. I mean, I can, but at the same time, there's just 3 titans of teams. So we're going to be starting off with Tribe Gaming, NA. Let's just walk through all their accomplishments and how strong they are as a team. So in their region, NA East, they only won 2 out of 6 monthly finals. I would say it's a pretty strong region, but at the same time, I definitely would have expected a little bit stronger from Tribe Gaming throughout the year. They definitely had their troubles, but 2 out of 6 still pretty solid, and they're still qualified as the first seed, but they needed to clutch up in the last monthly qualifier, which they did. So for me, Tribe Gaming already have this kind of ice factor, and you know, they always seem to clutch up, especially in the big moments. So that's already one thing they've got going for them, which I think they've got that ahead of like most teams in the world. So I really love Tribe Gaming for that reason. So in the pressurized moments, they really do rise up. So one thing to note, they did qualify for the recent NA Pro ESL Snapdragon series. That's just a tongue twister, but they qualified, and Luminosity Gaming didn't. Just goes to show they're still in decent form. They finished 3rd in the last Worlds, only losing to the eventual champions in Zeta 0. So just solidifying their form. You know, if you lose against the eventual world champions, then you can't really beat yourself up too much, right? Because they're literally the best team in the world. They also beat SK 3-1 in the quarterfinals, which is huge for them. They beat Na'Vi 3-0 in the last 16 as well. Another big result. But in scrim results recently, they've been looking pretty good with around a 50% win rate. They've played a lot of scrims as well, 500 sets so far. So just going to show that they're consistent in scrims. You don't need to have overly good data in scrims. You know, it's just literally to practice and whatever else. But at least they've not been getting stomped on. So it's just good to show that they're putting up a fight against literally everyone. And they also beat SK in 2021 in the last 16. But the thing is, they kind of... I think they tried that one against Insaf, and that was the one with Tyrant spinning. But that's just a quick introduction into Tribe. So of course, Titans of NA. We next have Na'Vi. So Na'Vi I mean, there's a lot of weird things about Na'Vi. You know, some days they can look absolutely insane on their day, and then some days they can just look absolutely terrible. So, you know, tread carefully with Na'Vi. If you put your faith into them, just know that they could quite easily just have a blowout. So, with Na'Vi, they won 1 out of 6 monthly finals in EMEA, which is still pretty good considering Zeta really dominated in EMEA this year. I'd still consider that a decent showing. I didn't expect them to win even one monthly final, but they did only qualify through the 7th spot, which was the last world spot, so they just scraped it barely. I actually thought that they might not even get 7th. You know, there's some teams kind of lurking in and around looking to kind of pinch that spot, but they qualified through LCQ, and boy did they qualify with a bang, because they beat Reject in the group stage, which I definitely didn't expect. You know, Reject looked like one of the best teams in the world, and Na'Vi, specifically Angel Boy, just clutched up, made so many good plays, and you know, you definitely can't discredit them for that, because I just couldn't put it into words. I was so surprised. And they also beat VN Esports in the kind of knockout game to make it towards Worlds. So they've had a really fantastic run on LAN. Na'Vi are very inconsistent though. They didn't qualify for the ESL LAN a couple of months ago. They didn't even qualify for the top 8 in ESL challenge season, which I was very, very surprised by. Like, but normally they just always qualify for those type of events, so they didn't even get the chance to kind of fight for that top 4 spot to go to the actual grand finals of the ESL. So very surprised by that one. And in scrims, they're not really looking that great right now. They have a 42% win rate. The win rate has gone up since they've actually gone into a boot camp, because I think MMA was playing on delay, so that affected some of their results. But overall, the team just isn't looking as strong this year. You know, there's definitely some glaring weaknesses that I've seen when I've watched competitive, but again, on their day, they definitely can put up a fight, as shown in the LCQ. So LAN results definitely speak for themselves when Na'Vi play, except for last year. They did lose in the last 16, but that was to Tribe, who are definitely one of the best teams in the world. But the previous year, in 2021, when I played in that Worlds, they reached the grand finals, only losing to Zeta 4-1. So they put up a great fight, even though they weren't technically on LAN. They still, against some of the best teams, put up a great fight. And also, they were in the losers final of a recent Queso Cup Masters. So just going straight, they've still got a little bit of form going for them. That's just a lot of rambling on about Na'Vi. And then lastly, we have Totem. So a lot of stats to go with here. They won 1 out of 6 monthly finals in EMEA, and they got 2nd place. So that just goes to show that they had a really high level in EMEA this season. And they never looked like they weren't going to qualify for the World Finals. They're always at the top 2. You know, Zeta was really far ahead, but Totem was always at that level as well, kind of the best of the rest in that sense. So, you know, the top 2 was quite easily Zeta and Totem all year round. They've been looking extremely poor, though, I would say, throughout the last part of this year. Ever since they won ESL Masters, you know, they've had some good performances. That I think they won a monthly final after that. But other than that, they've been looking really lackluster recently. But I know they've definitely got it in them. Of course, they literally won essentially Worlds in March. They beat some of the best teams in the world. They beat Tribe Gaming NA in that final. And overall, they definitely got that ceiling. It's just whether they can reach it again. But they won 3 ESL LANs within the last year. They've won, I think, 2 last year, maybe 1 towards the end of it, and they won 1 this year as well. So just going to show that they definitely can perform at LAN. They lost to Zeta 1 in the quarterfinals last year, though, which definitely I felt like at that point in time, I thought they definitely could have beat them. But I don't know, in World Finals, not really getting towards their peak. Also, they beat NA 3-0 last year in the last 16, and they beat Stamina 3-1 as well in 2021. So I think they've got a lot of stats on LAN to kind of back up just everyone's hype for them. I'm really excited to see them play this World Finals. Their scrim win rate, though, is quite alarming to me. 40% win rate, which, again, it is scrims and people are just testing things out. You're not always trying to win every single time, like it's a tournament, right? But at the same time, that's the 3rd worst, and they actually haven't scrimmed as much as the other teams. So maybe, I don't know what's going on there. I can't read between the lines, but they haven't played as many sets as all the other teams. They've got a bad scrim win rate, so preparation might not all be there for Totem, but they've definitely got the ability still to back it up. I can still back them when it comes down to these performances, hopefully. And it also came 5th and didn't qualify for the recent ESL finals. So it is a little bit of a worry because they didn't qualify for the LAN, and recent form can definitely be a big thing when it comes down to these tournaments. So it's going to be interesting going through the actual predictions. I give you guys all the context to maybe even make your own decisions. But now let's just go through, you know, on paper, who is the favorite. So Tribe Gaming versus Na'Vi is the first game of Group B. And I would say Tribe Gaming are quite easily the favorites inside of this one. They beat Na'Vi last year in the last 16-3-0. Very convincing. Tribe Gaming have looked a lot better, I would say, throughout the year. And I've looked a little bit wavy, but whenever it's a LAN, Tribe Gaming just seem to explode, with Zulan being this big character on the stage. He just loves it in the moment. Whilst Na'Vi, I feel like definitely if they like lose a game, they seem to tilt a little bit, just in my personal opinion. So I think Tribe Gaming, in terms of pure stats, have like a 65% chance of winning this one, 35% Na'Vi. So definitely wouldn't rule Na'Vi out. They can definitely put up a surprise. But if he was to bet on the favorite, definitely bet on Tribe. I think for me, I'm definitely going to go with them. You know, Tribe Gaming is always in my heart, but they're definitely one of the best teams when it comes down to the international stage. So next up is a really, really tough one. So this is the hardest one to call in this group, in my opinion. Tribe Gaming versus Reply Totem. So Tribe Gaming have a pretty good I think record against EU teams when it comes down to a LAN, except for Reply Totem, who beat them in the ESL Masters. So just remembering off the top of my head, it's literally a rematch. So maybe Tribe Gaming could get their own back in this way. I think they're in a bit better form at the moment, but there's not too much to go off because there's a lot more tournaments in EMEA where Reply Totem haven't really been performing themselves. So I think on their day, though, these are two of the best teams inside of the world. So I would actually say, in terms of odds, I really don't know with this one. Maybe Tribe Gaming like 52% to 48% total. It's seriously that close for this one. You could flip a coin. But if I was to kind of guess, I don't know. I think I would go for Reply Totem. I changed my mind there literally as I was going to say. I was going to say Tribe Gaming, but I would probably go Reply Totem, mainly because of my EMEA bias. I feel like they might just be able to outdraft them, and you know, Joker on LAN just seems to clutch up. So I've got to go Reply Totem. And then for the final result here, we have Reply Totem versus Na'Vi. So again, I think this is a pretty easy one, I would say, in my mind, but don't be completely like, oh my god, you know, if Na'Vi win, don't be like, wow, that's just a big shock, because it won't actually be the biggest shock in a way. So I would actually say that for me, Reply Totem probably have, again, like a 65% chance of winning this one to 35% Na'Vi. I just think with how things are going at the moment, Reply Totem just look better, just perform better on LAN. They literally won ESL Masters, so how can you really go against that form? For me, Reply Totem, I think that's pretty simple. So that's going to be it for today's video. Again, a quick run through of my predictions. We have Luminosity Gaming to win both of their games, and then Revenant to beat BC Gaming, and then we have Tribe Gaming to beat Na'Vi. We have Tribe Gaming versus Reply Totem. We have Totem winning that one, and then in the last one, Totem to beat Na'Vi. So that's going to be it for today's video. Let me know your predictions in the comment section below. But again, you don't have to go with my predictions. Literally a lot in the second group are like a coin flip, essentially. So you could go with your own instincts, but with Group A, definitely go with mine for sure. But that's going to be it. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you guys next time.